I get fooled on the internet a lot. As you know, I think it's been a pretty common theme in recent shows where I have asked Coca what's true, what's not true. I've spoken to him about AI. I have spoken to you and reviewed movies about the concept of people who are using the internet as a way to get extorted and to extort. I've talked about the fact that if you click on a link, you can get a virus. If you click on a link, sometimes you have to give money, but don't, like the whole package. Or you get a phone call that sounds like the voice of your child. Oh my God, I've been in an accident. I'm in jail. Please send 10 grand. The whole package. I read a story by Dan Wetzler yesterday that Coca had sent me, and I'd not heard this story before. And it was about a young man who had his whole life in front of him. And he was the victim of a financial extortion that is being referred to as financial sextortion. And what's happening is that there are people in Nigeria, and did you notice one of the names in the story by Wetzel on ESPN was Samson as a first name, not Samson as a last name. And here's how it goes. You get some online love if you're a handsome young athlete, or if you are a handsome 57-year-old. You get some online love when you get someone into your DMs who says, hey, you look good. Would you like to chat? And it's a picture of an incredibly gorgeous person. And it depends. If you're gay, it's a guy. If you're not gay, it's a girl. Somehow they know everything. And you then start a conversation, and then all of a sudden you're exchanging nudies, and then all of a sudden you got a problem. Now, I have a pretty serious rule that you should never violate. Do not send nudies. Rule number one. Rule number two. If you think someone's not real, or that it's too good to be true because someone so beautiful is talking to you no matter how attractive you are as an athlete or a middle-aged guy, you ask for the FaceTime and you say, hey, I'd like to meet you in person before you go ahead and do anything unsavory at all. Well, this young athlete did not follow those words of advice and got completely sextorted, and it ended up costing him his life. He took his life when he ended up sending a nudie to what he thought was a gorgeous girl. It turned out to be a Nigerian criminal who then threatened to send that nude picture to all of his contacts because they had access to his contacts, including his girlfriend, if he didn't give him $1,000. The problem is the young kid didn't have $1,000. He was willing to empty his bank account in order to make this go away, and that was $355. The Nigerian said, no, thank you. We want $1,000. And he said, the young athlete, I may have to kill myself because of this. And the Nigerian said, no problem. Would like to watch it happen. And it happened. I want to let that sink in for a second. And we've talked about and we've read about on this show what happens with social media bullying. We've read about teens who are taking their lives at rates that we have not seen because of social media. We've talked about the dangers of social media. This one is slightly different. This is the danger not just of social media. It's the danger of what it is to be prey. The thing about prey is that when you are preyed upon, the prey often doesn't realize that they are the prey. They actually think they're the predator. And the ultimate irony is that when a prey is mistaken into thinking that it's the predator, that's when it gets preyed upon. I would like to point out that if you are in contact with anyone on social media who you don't know, please, number one, just understand that they're going to work quickly. Just know that sometimes these athletes or these people who are being financially sextorted, they're taking their lives within an hour of the first contact. Do you remember that there was a guy named Braden Marcus in 2021, 15 years old. He was contacted, and 27 minutes later, he took his own life. His parents had no idea what happened. 10 months later, they got into his phone and realized exactly what happened. The speed at which this is happening to kids ought to be alarming to all parents, ought to be a point of understanding where you got to talk to your kids. You have to talk to your spouse. You have to talk to your siblings. You have to talk to your coworkers. The problem is there's such shame around it because everyone is embarrassed if they get taken. Everyone's embarrassed that they have some sort of online affliction or addiction. My view is different. I want to share it with you, the audience. I share it with Coca when I get a DM saying, can you imagine this? And Coca says, no, she's not real. And I say, oh, that seemed too good to be true. You've got to have someone in your life who you can reach out to question your assumptions. It works with business. It works socially. It works in life. You have to remember that what social media is doing to people, it is creating an atmosphere where the line between what's real and what's not real is incredibly blurry. And all of the kids these days, all of the young adults these days, we're all in our room. We've all got the door closed. We're all on social media, and we all say, wait a minute, we're not lonely. We're not alone. We're surrounded by people. We're plugged in. We're gaming with people. But you are alone because you don't know exactly whether or not you're being taken advantage of. Do you remember the show we did, Coca, Adolescence? All those Emmy nominations? Remember what happened with that kid? You remember that even when a kid is at home in their bedroom, they still could be doing things that are wrong or having things that are wrong being done to them. Your best chance is communication. Your best opportunity is to understand what is the possible downfall to your child. What could be the roadmap, the minefield? And don't take no for an answer. No matter how unpopular you are, you're not there to be your kid's friend. No matter how unpopular it may be to take that position with your significant other or with your sibling or with your friend, we have to help each other because they're so good now. They're so good at pretending to be something that they're not. And they're a bunch of incels in Nigeria or wherever else sitting on the couch in their underwear in a sweatshop of greed and in a sweatshop of fraud. And it's costing people their lives. I have one small solution to it. One of the reasons why, have you ever thought about the offshore situation? When you're watching The Wolf of Wall Street, why they'd start running things out of the Bahamas, or why you have to, extradition is so difficult, which is why you want to avoid taxes, move to Monaco. You want to avoid state tax, move to Florida. You want to disappear entirely, do your online gaming outside of the U.S. You want to, there are ways that you can avoid things in your country of origin. I propose that countries ought to be getting together and dealing with extradition in a way that is not currently dealt with. You may think it's hard to find the sweatshops in Nigeria or the people who are sitting around at a home and doing these frauds, these online scams. I have a different view. I want to find them, I want to extradite them, and I want to charge them with murder. You may be saying to yourself, David, that is way too harsh. How can you blame somebody for a suicide? Well, I can. How can you bring someone in from Nigeria? How do you know who it was? We'll find them. The reason why there is no money put into finding people that are outside of the country in general is that the extradition laws can be so clunky that it's just the juice is not worth the squeeze. There's not enough resources to actually make a difference. You talk about federal government and state governments and where resources are going and deploying the National Guard left, right, and center. Well, I got an idea for resources. I want resources to go to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children suggests that you immediately report the account to a social media platform, and you can call the hotline. If you think that something's too good to be true, or it's too late and you're being extorted, call the hotline. There is help available. Tell your parents, tell your friends. They won't be embarrassed. Why? Because we've all been scammed. We've all been defrauded. We've all made the mistake. When you think you're totally alone, believe me, don't feel that loneliness. You're surrounded by people who feel the same way. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children can be found at 1-800-843-5678. That number again is 1-800-843-5678. Thank you, Dan Wetzel, for bringing this to my attention.